We've just finished the Money in Your 20s episode, so you can go back and have a look at that if you are after some other content. But this series is primarily, I guess, quarantining key things for each decade. Now, life isn't linear. It's up and down, round and round. There could be someone listening to this in their 50s who will learn. There could be someone listening to this in their 20s who will learn. But I think we just want to maybe hero some key themes of each decade and particularly maybe opportunities or things to look out for. Today on the podcast, we have Pidgeon and Rachelle Kroon. John joins us regularly. Well, you both join us regularly on Money. But they host the This Is Property podcast that's been banging along. They're both successful in their own right with money, which is a good thing to have on this show. And yeah, today we are talking about money in your 30s. I might throw to Rach first, any kind of opening comments about that decade or any memories from that decade from your life?
Memories from my 30s. I just think your 30s is really the time when you get your act together.
Yeah.
I mean, 30s is that's a really big decade for all things money. I mean, people having children and building their financial wealth. So yeah, that's the big decade. I think it could be the most important for you financially.
Interesting. John, do you have any opening comments?
You got your stuff ready when you were about 14. So I think by 30 you were well and truly established. But yeah, chatting to someone last week and he reached out and said, look, I've just turned 30. This stuff's getting real. And I think it really is for a lot of people, isn't it, as you said, Rach. So yeah, I think whether it's business that you want to do or vocation might be getting a bit more serious, maybe trying to climb the tree, relations, it's maybe the maturity is starting to come home to roost.
Adulting begins.
Maybe, maybe not. Let's get into it right now. You're listening to Money, or as the regulars like to call us, M3. Everything discussed on the podcast is general advice only, which I'm licensed to give, and details can be found in the show notes. My name's Glen James, former financial advisor, now podcaster. I host this show and a show called Retire Right. I've also got a book called The Quick Start Guide to Investing, which you can check out wherever good books are sold, or there's a link in the show notes. Otherwise, thanks so much for listening today. Now on with the show. So we've put together a bit of a list. I might throw to John because I think this is important to say at every age, and we might not hero it as much, but just on the foundations, if you are dialed in and you're joining us in your 30s, we have to make sure we've got good foundations, right? Yeah.
Some of us may have created them in our 20s. Some of us may be looking at it saying, well, the 20s was a write-off from that point of view. I've had some wins in other areas of my life in my 20s, but now I'm creating some real solid foundations that's going to set me up for the forever and a day. And I think, the foundations don't change, do they? They're just consistent with cash flow management and buffers, and now we're looking maybe at the bigger rocks. Is it, if we haven't already got it, are we looking for our property to live in, or am I growing my asset base in some way, shape or form? And undoubtedly your income grows, doesn't it? Like for those, and we spoke about it in the 20s episode, for those that are studying, like they're waking up at 25 still with maybe not much in the bank account because they've been studying for that portion. So they're only, well, I don't want to say playing catch up, but from a bank balance point of view, they may indeed be playing catch up. Now they're earning a little bit more. If you've done an apprenticeship or started working in your early 20s, then hopefully that's increased a lot in that 10-year period. So yeah, I think it's a fruitful time, isn't it? And I think we'll do the 40s ep, but if you waste this 10-year period, you are playing massive catch up, I think.
What do you think on this foundation stuff, Rach?
Yeah, I think the foundations are so important in your 30s, and people have a lot of different, like you're right, John, a lot of people do start this stuff in their 20s, but a lot of people spend their 20s travelling and doing a lot of fun stuff too, as well as studying. And I think a lot of people wake up at 30 and go, well, I really need to start to get my act together. And I think 30's the big birthday where people start to get these plans in place.
Yeah, I reckon for me, the 30s and particularly, these type of episodes, it's really, I think you touched on it, one of you, it's that totally we're getting established and we've got to lock some things in because the closer you get to the finish line, the faster time goes.
Yeah.
And, I think just, if you haven't got your insurances reviewed, get your life insurance sorted, your disability, your income insurance. Make sure you've got your wills done. And if you're single and not in a relationship, is there someone that is a trusted person that can be a power of attorney? So if something happened, they could sign stuff on your behalf. I mean, it's just all this stuff is just hygiene, and we always need to be looking at it. But I just want to start every one of these episodes with those foundations. But I probably will say on the budget or spending plan, it really is, you may have been in the workforce for some time or you've kind of just started. You know what it's like to have phone bill, car rego, rent, bills, like welcome to life. You're used to it now. I think it is continuing to optimize those bills, and I would encourage everyone in their 30s to hopefully work towards having the optimization. So, if you pay your car insurance yearly, you might be able to save 10% as opposed to monthly.
Yeah.
Same with insert product or service here. You may get the discounts to pay yearly, but we need to have our emergency fund. We need to have some, things happening in order to make that $1,000 car insurance payment as opposed to $80 a month or something like that.
Yeah, and some of us are late to the party on a few of those things, aren't we? Like, I know I didn't have insurances in my 20s through maybe a bit of naivety or just simply I wasn't around people that had it, so it just wasn't common in my circle. So good, bad or otherwise. And same with the smarts about your insurance, saving 10% annually as an example. If you're growing up in an environment where that's just common stuff, when you're 18, 19, you're doing it straight off the bat, aren't you?
Yeah, and just doubling down on that optimization, if you do have your emergency fund set up, have a look at all your insurances and your income insurance. Let's increase the excesses to reduce the premium. Let's push out the income protection waiting period to 90 days. So it kind of can snowball with this optimization as you get more established because, I can actually have a higher excess and a cheaper annual cost because I've got my own emergency fund.
Yeah.
So I really want to, encourage people in their 30s. You have been working for a while. You're in the workforce. You likely have some goals. Let's get optimized.
When you talked before about the finish line, like I'm nearly in my 50s, right?
Jeepers creepers.
The older statesman around the room here. I think in my 40s, I was starting to think about the finish line and it's like, okay, I've got to look after my body.
How old are you now? 48?
48.
Jeepers.
Shut
creepers.
the gate. So
you need to be the host of the Retire Ride podcast now.
Come on, mate, come on. So
you're my new target demographic.
But my body's like a 25-year-old,
okay,
right?
mate, turn it down.
So when you in my 30s, I was not thinking about the finish line.
Yeah.
Were you?
I was probably at my start of my 30s. That's when I started my business. So I was probably thinking a little bit longer. I've probably got all those insurances and all those sorts of things in place, but probably not the finish line. But I was probably thinking a bit more long-term in strategy by 30.
Yeah. And you can speak from experience, but when I started having children is when I started to think more about the finish line.
Yeah.
It was like a reality. It's like, hang on a minute. I want to see them grow up and then maybe their kids.
Yeah.
So you're saying, and this could be a segue into the family stuff, having the reality check of having kids made you want to be maybe healthier so you can last longer.
Correct.
Yeah, okay. Interesting. So if we now move, that basic hygiene and foundations and optimization and whatnot, it's probably what was your journey like, John, for family planning in your 30s with Amy? When did you get married?
32.
Right. And was it a discussion that we want to start a family and all that, or was it, whoops, here we go, we're starting a family?
Hybrid of both.
Right.
Yeah. But there was definitely then the discussion of, estate planning and things like that.
Yeah, so, which is fine, but moving more to the family planning side of it, had you had discussions about taking leave from the workforce, one person? Like, how did you guys plan that?
Yeah, so we were in the fortunate position where we were both business owners. So you can sort of navigate between things given the business that we had, and we're fortunate that Amy could have some time off having kids. So it was like, we're going to start a family, but whenever that happens is when it happens sort of thing, because we didn't have to put our hand up and say, excuse me, can we have maternity leave? So I think a lot of it depends on how rigid your 9 to 5 is in your discussions around that. Like so many people I speak to are like, I'm going to start having kids in 3 years because of my income levels then, or then I'll have established myself in the role. Like as a business owner, you may be thinking that, but I don't think as much.
Question for Rach, if there is a young couple in their 30s or even a single, there is that question when we talk about the big rocks in our lives. Do we save for the first home, get into that, then start the family, or do the family thing first, then when both parents are back potentially full time, then we buy the house? Like what type of comments, and even just from a practical lending point of view, do you see, and you can draw on your own experience and whatnot?
I think it's up to everyone individually. However, if I could pick a perfect world, it would be to buy the home first, because you can do that when you've both got that income, and maybe save some buffers and really get yourself into a position to have some emergency funds in place for when you are having that maternity leave, because it is such a big commitment, a mortgage, when you are dropping down onto one income. But it's something that you need to plan for when you buy. So when you buy your first home, I think, and that might be at 30, and you might be planning in 3 or 4 years' time to have children. If you're going to go into this home first, what's our plan? And actually put some buffers in place to cover that, because we do get that paid maternity leave and all those other bits and pieces. But I still think having those buffers in place is important. So I think sometimes if you're renting at that time, it can get harder to get into the market down the track. I always go early if I could choose.
And I guess it's location dependent, right?
Yeah.
And, what do you want to do? But I think for those in their 30s, and we'll just call it mid to early 30s, you might be, you might not have a family yet, you might want one, you might have half a family and you want to continue to make kids. I think you have to really, and I'll just talk financially speaking, you have to live in reality. And that might mean, well, we're not buying a brand new Prado now because we're going to start a family, and that's going to cost a butt ton of money, and we're going to prioritise these big fundamental things. Property first, family, let's get that happening. Then we'll start to, once all that recovers and settles, then we can worry about whether we want the brand new Prado or something like that.
Yeah, I just wonder how many people put real in-depth thought into this. Because you mentioned the car, you mentioned the house, you mentioned one income and 12 weeks of maternity leave, something like that. You can talk yourself out of doing any of it through fear of, is it going to be okay? Others will just go and do it and not worry about it and wake up and make it happen. But a lot comes back to your risk profile, doesn't it, and your mindset around it all.
Yeah. So on that, there's probably a part 2, and I don't know if we need to camp there all day long, but that question around school fees and that type of planning.
Yeah. For me, I think it really depends on your values and beliefs around schooling, and not so much the importance of it. We know it's important, but at what level? Is it private school? Is it independent? Is it just mainstream public? And also then the quality of schooling around you and what's available to you at the time, and friend groups and what who they're associated with, both as parents but also the children. Because I know for us, our kids are in the Catholic system, not purely because we're staunch Catholics, but because we chose them as the school of based on them, their personality, their friendship groups, and other schools around. What about you?
I've noticed that some people are choosing between location and schooling. So it might be, and I was talking to somebody recently that was looking at a location that actually the purchase price was going to be significantly more than somewhere else. And when they were doing their budget, they said, well, we wouldn't have to pay for private school fees if we chose this location. And that was actually going to save them $100,000 a year.
Jeez.
Yeah.
So they chose the location knowing that the school, the public school in that location meant they saved that money in school fees.
Yeah, and they're bursting at the seams, those public schools, aren't they? Because everyone's trying to get in there and rent. And
Now, if you are in your 30s and you're not planning on having kids, or you're still single, like what do we do? Do we just double down and let's get some type of plan in place? And I think it's kind of hard. For me, in my own life, yes, I was a financial advisor, and with financial advice, you're like, okay, what's the goals? And you just work backwards, right? And kind of implement the goals and kind of takes care of itself. But I honestly think you want to just really have your direction very clear. Like me as a single person, or we as a couple without kids, we know that we want this life and we're going to head in this direction. We just do it. We're heading north, and we might get to the river crossing. There might be a bridge. There might be a tunnel. We might be swimming. We don't know, but we've set our financial life up in this direction.
Yeah.
And if things come up, we can kind of pivot. So it's that whole purpose, if you will.
And you may not be having kids.
That's right.
And that's so great for your financial plan.
Yeah.
amazing.
Yeah.
Amazing. There's $1 million a kid sort of factored in there. But that's an interesting one right there, Glenn, is partner or no partner, what path am I going on? Like at the end of the day, who's the most important person to you? It's you. You got to keep yourself healthy, mentally stable, food on the table, all these things. Whoever comes in and out of your life in the next 10 years, it'll be what it'll be, sort of thing. But because I think people are maybe finding partners later in life, having kids maybe later in life. So early 30s might actually be, I'm still single here. I've got plans for that. If it comes along, great. If it doesn't, I'm buying a house, I'm putting money into shares, I'm building super, I've got my own shit sorted, so that if someone else comes along, they're almost a bonus for me.
Yeah, just plug it in to the vibe.
I think that's the general consensus.
Yeah, I have a really good friend that I was giving some advice to when she was buying her first home, and it was in her 30s, and she wanted to wait to find her partner. And I said, why don't we just plan those things like it wasn't going to happen? Well, she's in her 40s now, and that partner still hasn't come.
Right.
But do you know what has happened? Property's doubled in value.
Yeah, so she got her own shit sorted.
Yeah, and she might meet a partner later on in her 40s, but I mean, you wouldn't stop your own goals waiting for that perfect person to come along.
The sugar daddy.
But I think, if we move along to this next point I've got, and it does really tie in nicely with that, having some type of direction that you want to head with your life. And as an example, it could be, I literally want to do a 4-day work week and do knitting on Fridays, or insert hobby or cause or something here. You're 100% allowed to build your life and your income around what you want to do. So, for example, you might still be single, you might not have kids or want kids. You're allowed to say, I really value this charity or mountain biking or insert thing here. Life's too short. I'm going to enjoy life. I'm going to work a 4-day work week, permanent part-time, knock yourself out. Go for it. Within that, I'll finish this point and I'll throw to you, Rach. But if you don't have that type of direction, you can really fall into the trap as your income kind of creeps along, you let expenses kind of balloon unnecessarily, and you're just a victim of lifestyle inflation. Now, if you're doing that, or if you're not strategic and you don't have purpose, particularly in your 30s, you will just waste time, money, and opportunity. So that's really important because you're in the workforce now. You need to optimize everything and be very, very strategic. And even more so, if you are single, you don't get the scale with living with someone and the food bills, the rent bills, and all that stuff. So it is more expensive being single because you don't get that scale. What were you going to add, Rach?
Oh, that lifestyle creep is a big one. As your income starts going up, people say it's not what you earn, it's what you do with it. And I think as people start making a bigger income, which is generally at 30, that's where those habits are so important of where you put your money. Do you start spending more or do you start allocating that to different places?
People may be moving out of home for the first time as well in their early 30s. So, and you mentioned that I've got all this responsibility on my own to pay all the bills and to pay the rent wholly and solely because I'm now on my own. But people are staying at home longer as well. So if they've got their shite together, I reckon they've stayed at home for 4 or 5 years longer, bought themselves 1 or 2 properties, built up their shares, and they've really got their foundations set. You don't want to stay at home too long, by the way. But you're also going to, on average, have had 1, maybe 2 occupations by now as well, haven't you? So sometimes maybe in your early 30s, you might go sideways or even backwards slightly in remuneration before you go forwards with your new passion or desire.
Yeah. We're going to take a break. When we get back, we're going to double down on some more opportunities with your earning potential and investing. We'll be back right after this.
If you're after personal financial advice, don't get it from a podcast. But if you want guidance tailored to your situation, head to moneypodcast.com.au and click Get Help. We'll connect you with one of our trusted professionals, financial advisors and mortgage brokers, who work with people right across Australia. No matter where you are, they can help. Now, before we get back to the show, a quick reminder to protect your financial life. That means having income protection sorted. It means having death cover if there's any debt or dependents relying on you. It means getting your personal insurance in order. Most people insure their car, they insure their house, but what about themselves? Sky Wealth, who support this podcast, are specialist financial advisors who can help you get the right cover in place. Their advice is often more comprehensive and better value than going direct through your super. Book a complimentary 15-minute chat at sky.com.au. That's skye.com.au, and they'll point you in the right direction.
Okay, if you do want to join us in the Facebook group, remember, if you're not a member, on the way in where it says, where did you hear about this group, put I heard episode, whatever this is, 8 something, or I heard Glen, John and Rach on the podcast or on YouTube, because we'll know that you are not spam. And just other housekeeping, we are filming most of our episodes now, so you can see our faces on YouTube. So you talked about the upskilling and changing, John. You've got to do that, and probably I'll move it into the kind of category of starting a business. If you're not happy or you want to do something different, you've got to just get moving and get it sorted. Let's try and do the career pivot or the study. If you could be 32, you could go study uni part-time and be done by 40, all that stuff. Let's get this happening in this very crucial decade. I know people who have started a family, went to uni. Like, if you want to do it, you can do it. It's going to be hell, but it is possible. So I think it is that, yeah, if your income is good, you may need to drop back a bit to really get on that right path.
I agree. You don't want to be 55 and all crumpled up when you decide to, now I want to start my own business. Like it can still work out all right, but your greatest energy output and motivation for life, I think, is starts probably here. And like, you've got all this I suppose, immature energy in your 20s, haven't you? You don't know what the hell you're doing, but you're just going. And you find out one way or the other whether it works or not. Whereas your 30s, I think, is the combination of now I've matured a bit, now I can make some more informed decisions, but I should be pouncing out of bed, taking on life.
Yeah, I remember starting the business at 31 and thinking how incredibly young I was. And I thought, oh, am I too young to be doing this? But now as I look back the decade after that, I feel so grateful that I did it when I had all that energy, because I would not have had the energy in this decade that I had in my 30s. It was a big energy decade.
And you were doing it with kids as well. So maybe talk to us about that juggle. And like if you had a transcript for someone, like would you, like some love to bite off more than they can chew sort of thing, but would you be starting businesses before kids? Like, because you talked about the kids and house, staying in a family and buying a house versus travel, buy a house. What about starting a business?
Yeah, well, see, that's the thing. I miss the travel and all of those things that a lot of people do, because I did have my children very young. But also, if I'd waited for the right time, I don't think I ever would have done it. It was just a big surprise very early on.
Yeah.
But I do think it would have been harder after kids or to really start. I think the fact that when doing it when they were young, before those school fees and things like that kicked in, because when you do have that lifestyle creep, it is harder to move away from that big salary and start a business. It's a risk and you're moving away from money.
So question, it's harder, no doubt, as a female than it is for a male when you've got kids. Speaking from a male here.
You know, the emotional toll will always go on the female. It still does. It still does.
Absolutely. And even if the male helps out 70% of the time.
You know, I've got a friend, all three of her children, she had the worst morning sickness, like literally bedridden, whatever, spewing, all that for the whole pregnancies.
Yeah.
So she couldn't even work.
Yeah.
Let alone have the energy to write a business plan.
Yeah.
Yeah. So back to where I was going, kids and then start a business, or do people, once they've got that mortgage, there's that real stress in their head to say, I've got to keep paying the mortgage each month. Are they unlikely to start building a business when they've got that big rock?
See, I think it's whether it be kids or a mortgage, I think it's when that lifestyle creep comes in, because when you start earning more money, and that happens, it's whether you're going to be able to pull it back. So, yes, I had a mortgage and children, but my overheads were still low. My overheads are a whole lot more now.
Yeah.
You know, but if my overheads were where they are now, I couldn't have walked away from my salary and started a business. I think it's before things like private school fees, if you're going to have them, or the big mortgage, if you're going to have that.
Yeah.
You know, the more I think about this, when we are talking in this decade, it should, I'll phrase it this way. If you have been thinking about something for 2 or 3 years, like, I just really want to start my business. And that's been a thought and a gut feeling or something for a few years, and it might be start your own business. It might be insert, I want to do a uni course here, or insert career change, or that thing. If that is in your soul, and it has been for a couple of years, 3 years, forget the flipping house and invest, go and attack that first.
Yeah.
Because if you get your career right, if you get your business right, you'll be happier after that 3-year kind of hurdle of getting started and established. You'll be happier, you'll have more money, you'll buy whatever house you want.
I agree.
But if you don't have that gut feeling burning for the last couple of years, maybe take that traditional route that, I don't hate my job, I like it. All right, well, we're going to invest or buy a house or start a family. Then it's a matter of, okay, the career's fine. We're not career driven. We're not self-employed driven. So I think it is very circumstantial, but I think the kind of underlining scribble that as I'm talking is in your 30s, it's take action and big action. Because in our 20s, we're just getting established and having a bit of fun, and still do the travel in your 30s. And I know someone now in their 30s who's doing the Europe thing and all that. Awesome. But there needs to be some type of progress, I think, in the background.
Yeah, that cash flow quadrant comes to mind, doesn't it? It's like you can be on the left-hand side, but let's get more exposure to the right-hand side if you can. And you're talking about starting up a business, and if it's burning away at you, the last thing you want to do is wake up in your 40s with regret. It's like, I should have done that.
And you still can, but you're just not getting that time back.
And we're all business owners, so we go to that default of start your business. But I see a lot of people do their master's degree in their 30s and they're investing in education and other things that would be our equivalent.
Yeah, and that's what I really wanted to be clear. This is not everyone start a business in your 30s. Insert your thing here, whether it is the education, whether it is the business, whether it is the job change. And that's a big deal. And, it is a shout out to the book, Sort Your Career Out and Make More Money. One of the best chapters I've ever written in any book was the chapter on risk and risk taking. And that could be a big risky thing. I love my industry. I love what I do, but I don't like where I'm doing it and the conditions. So I want to still be a dental hygienist because I love that. But the people I'm working for are pigs and I don't love them and it's not great. They don't respect me. Oh, I need to make a change and get another job as a dental hygienist. We look in and go, get another job. For someone who hasn't got that kind of risk muscle, you need to start leaning into taking those risks. And that's the type of big things that I'm talking about for some people.
Yep. Could
be starting your business or it could literally be my boss is a dickhead. I need another job in the same industry doing the same thing. Yeah. And that's your thing that you need to really lean into.
And I think it's okay, again, in your 30s to take a risk because if it doesn't come off, you've got plenty of time. Like people are living 10 years longer now at least, aren't they, because of medicine and everything else. But if you accidentally stumbled across this episode and you're in your 50s, it's still not too late. You've got, on average, 30 years until it's called a day for you. So you've still got plenty of time, haven't you? Like in your 30s, you're just not even getting warming up. You're not even getting warmed up. Plenty of time.
I guess in finishing, and I hope we've really underscored this whole, we need you to take some type of action.
Yeah.
We can't be sitting here in 10 years, hopefully, and you're in the same position in terms of your career, your income, your asset level, your education, if you know deep down that you need to make a change. So that's the encouragement.
The last bit's the key, isn't it?
Yeah.
Because some are actually happy with what they've got and don't ever want to change that. And that's totally fine.
Yeah. So I want to move now into this investing piece. And I think it is a bit of a risk spectrum as well. We want to encourage people to have one eye on today, one eye on the future and invest for tomorrow. Thankfully, in Australia, if you've got a job, 12% is going into superannuation each year. But we don't want to aim for the bare minimum. The amount of money you need for retirement is as much as possible. That's the whole thing. So on your risk spectrum of investing, it could be as simple as, well, I'm just going to tell work, we've got a bit of money left over. I'm going to tell work to do salary sacrificing, $100 a pay, $200 a pay, whatever that is, into superannuation. In one strike, we're investing for the future in a tax-effective environment, and overall, year on year, we're paying less tax overall. So it could be as easy as that. Now, I've got two property hawks in the room. What are some other things that people can do to invest?
Well, you'd argue there's three, actually. They're silent.
We've converted him.
Oh, well, I think he converted himself. He just plays this story as though he's not. Where was I going with that?
I don't know, buying any investment property.
Yeah, so I think when you were talking about this salary sacrificing piece, you came to mind in the sense that in your 30s, you now know whether you're a spender or a saver.
Yeah.
So the salary sacrificing thing could be, I don't want to see it. I want to put it to the future because otherwise I'll spend it. Yeah. So understanding that risk profile, the mindset, all of that. But yeah, obviously you may have a deposit where you can say, is it my family home or my stepping stone property, or is it an investment property? And obviously I'm having conversations daily about this where for most people living in the capitals, their first property now is starting to become an investment just because they just can't afford to live within 10K of where they'd like to be and not prepared to move. So the only option is to buy an investment if they want property as an asset type.
What are your thoughts on this investing for the future in your 30s?
Yeah, well, I've got a team member of mine that's been with me for a decade now. And when she first started, she asked if she could put salary sacrifice into super. And I'd actually never done that before myself. And I had to go to payroll and go, how do I actually do this? And the payroll person sorted it out. And I remember thinking, oh, that's not a huge amount, but that's been a decade now. And that person's saved a decade's worth of salary sacrifice with an employer, and if that's all that she did in the last 10 years, that's something for her future that she's doing.
And wouldn't have missed it.
Absolutely.
No, you don't miss it.
Because it started
Because you'll always
so young.
adjust to what your means are.
Yeah.
You'll always come up to your means.
And I am pro-property and that's my passion, but I see all these other streams of small investing that actually goes on and it's not missed. I think it's a really strong thing and a habit to get into that's great. Yeah, so that's my idea, is just to do something in your 30s and make sure it's something that you do consistently.
Yeah.
Now, if you do want to invest and you might not want to buy an investment property or a home to live in, there's nothing wrong with setting up an equity investment account in your own name.
Yep.
Because I think it just goes back to the fundamentals. We're living on less than we earn and we're investing the rest.
Yeah.
Now, for a period of time, the living on less than we earn and investing the rest, that quote unquote investing the rest, that's kind of, well, that money that we have free is going towards our home deposit.
Yeah.
That money that we have free is going towards saving $20,000 because we actually want to start a business, or I want to pay for a uni course or something like that. So as long as that money as long as 100% of your income isn't being consumed, I think you're taking some type of action, the rest of your 30s into your 40s are going to be really good.
I agree. The danger for someone when they get that increase of income in their late 20s, early 30s, mid 30s is the lifestyle creep that you mentioned, right? We go and spend it on the bigger toys because we've got the ability to. We can lend more. Yeah. Right? We can go and get a brand new car.
I can afford $300 a week now for a car payment, not $90.
Yeah. So the danger is they go that side of the mountain instead of the bright side in terms of setting themselves up for the future.
If I was going to give advice to anybody in their 30s and if they had $300 a week spare, whether it would be to spend that money on an appreciating asset rather than a depreciating asset. So if there was someone who had $300 for that Prado a week, you've also got $300 a week that you could put into property.
We're picking on the Prado today because I just took John's car for a spin.
It's a good set of wheels though. It generally doesn't depreciate as much as others.
Yeah. And I know I'm pro-property. I'm always going to say an investment property, but whether it be shares or an investment property, they're both going to go up in value. I would just not use those extra funds that you have to buy something that would go down in value. And those big things, those caravan toys and those big items, if you've got the cash to buy those, that's great. But if you've got that cash, you've also got that cash to invest.
And that is the dance. Like I'm actually preparing at the moment a video and a podcast episode. I'm just going to bring it up now. So this episode that we're talking on now,
I'll be in Barcelona.
Yeah, Rachel will be overseas.
Discretional spending.
Yeah. I'm doing my magic formula for buying cars.
Okay.
And I think in terms of, and this is the dance, right? I'm in the camp, life's too short to just not enjoy it. Our gross income, we're not having more than 50% of the gross household income in things with motors in them, or caravans, toys, boats, motorbikes, all that stuff. So for both of you, do you? Oh God, I haven't even asked the question, and Rachel's like, "Don't ask me." So do you think your household income with the cars, any caravans, boats and all that, all those depreciating assets are less than 50% of your household income, gross household income.
We have a lot of motorbikes.
Yeah. Yeah.
But probably, yes, probably
Yeah.
less than 50%.
Do you think yours are, John?
Borderline.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think I'm just into really good rules of thumb. So that's one of the rules of thumb.
Yeah.
So I did the example that you'll see on the episode. If you earn 150 grand as a household income, we're not having more than 75K in stuff that's going down in value.
Yeah.
So it could be the 2 cars and the caravan. Could be 25, 35.
Nah, look, actually, I'm nowhere near 50 when I think about that.
You just realised how much money he's earned.
No, well, I'm thinking about business vehicles like, nowhere near it.
Okay.
20%.
Yeah, cool. So, and then
50?
Be close.
yeah, I'm well under it. Like, because I really try and have that as my thing.
Goal,
Like,
yeah.
just as a guardrail to stop me overspending on stuff
Yeah.
that's going down in value in proportion. Another kind of rule of thumb when I do this episode was around the caravans, the motorbikes, the toys, the boats. We don't do personal loans for stuff like that.
Yeah, no.
Yeah.
Let's save up, buy cash, get on with it,
Yeah.
continue investing.
See, my big rule is you never borrow for any of those things.
Yeah, you don't borrow money for toys.
Never toys.
No,
I would say
and I
never
think-
a car.
Yeah, well, that's interesting.
Do you buy your car with cash?
Yeah, everything except for the business vehicle.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I'd be the same. But I think, again, coming back to the 30s, which is the episode we're in, the risk is, for me, it was always get the big assets first, the big rocks, get everything sorted foundationally. Don't go into any of that stuff. And then when you come out the other side and you know, okay, everything's actually going to be okay here, then you can indulge in some of that stuff. But that's not in your 30s, I don't think.
Well, I think I think it's scratching the itch, and this is a good kind of thing to get into. In your 30s, if you are trying to get established and you love fishing and you want to buy a boat, you're not buying an $80,000 boat if you're trying to save for a house deposit. Like, we have to live in reality. But if you got a $5,000 tinny and that's your little refuge and we just like getting out on the water, awesome.
Go for it. But you're not getting a $30,000 loan for that.
No, it's cash flow.
Yeah.
But that's, welcome to life. We're an adult. There's only so much money. We have to make a judgment call.
Yeah.
We've got 20 grand in savings overall. What are we using it for? We're either investing it or putting it towards something or saving for something.
Yeah. Well, I see $5,000 in my 30s as 50 grand of borrowing. 10%.
Deposit.
Yeah.
So like I've got 5, I can go and get another 45 potentially.
Would you buy, like you've got mountain bikes, would you have bought a $7,000 mountain bike in your 30s?
No, no way. Road bike, no.
Really? Oh, sorry, road bike.
Yeah.
Whatever, mountain bike.
No. I was
Road bike.
the tightest athlete ever known to man in my 20s and 30s. Yeah.
So I don't know, because I just don't, I don't know, maybe I'm just old and in a mood or something, but
Well, you're definitely one of those.
could be both, John. Because I want people to enjoy the fruits of their labour, but let's have some guardrails so we don't overspend.
Yeah,
We
so-
don't get the emotional heebie-jeebies and, buy a brand new boat or motorbike as a toy on finance, because that's going to screw you.
Yeah. But if you know the consequences of that's the issue with a lot of people. Their head is in the sand. I think they go and buy like all these tradies. I'm not picking on the tradies, but P plates rolling around in new Hiluxes, right? So, okay, do we know the consequences of that? The loan repayments that could be going towards a house deposit or into ETFs or extra super contributions. And if we know that and we're okay with it, go for your life. But if you don't understand that just because you've done what your mate's done, that's the issue, I think.
Yeah. And if you say, yes, Glenn, John and Rach, I've sat here and listened to this podcast and I'm 35 and 100% I understand everything you said, but I'm now going to get a personal loan and buy a boat, a motorbike, insert thing here. Awesome. I've got a nice mattress and pillow. I'm sleeping just as well tonight. But do not dare whinge in 10 years that you've got no money and become a victim.
Yeah.
Because you've knowingly spent money on stuff that's going down in value.
And if you do that in your 30s, there will be a huge difference in your 40s and 50s
Yeah.
of how you live. So those big things and those people that have that extra money and going towards this toy or that toy or finance of things that are going down in value, that's the biggest difference I see. People who invest in their 30s and people who buy toys in their 30s or cars or trying to keep up with the Joneses. There's another one in your 30s.
Yeah.
But those things are the big things that I guess would make a huge difference.
And I want everyone to go out and eat out and all that stuff. You can't go out to grill with 2 people at dinner and get change out of $75. Like, it is expensive to eat out.
Is that where you're taking dates for dinner, grilled?
I think so, yeah. It's good. I like grilled. Oh, but just on that, in terms of implementing rules of thumb into your financial life, I've got a rule of thumb. I don't Uber Eats. I don't use Menu, Flog, anything like that. Because it's actually a rip-off. So I got Indian the other night from this place in Newcastle. It wasn't even the best Indian. And I looked on the apps. It was like, full disclosure, token butter chicken, you're welcome. And I literally just called the restaurant and put the phone order in and saved $7
Yeah.
for the meal.
Wow.
Like, it's just outrageous.
And did they deliver it?
No, I walked over and got it.
Oh.
Yeah. But no,
How
but
did it
even
get to your house?
like
Uber Eats.
using apps. So you could use Uber Eats app
Yeah.
or insert app here and click pickup. It's just wild. And,
Yeah.
you go out I want everyone to have coffee and brunch out. Yes, I still think you can buy a house and all that and have food at cafes. But the more you sacrifice in life, the more you win in that area. It's like gravity, isn't it? Take
Totally.
your athleticism or whatever. The more you train and sacrifice and not see your family and get them to whinge at you for not being around and being an absent father, you're feeling convicted.
No.
Okay,
I
good.
train from 4 till 6
Yeah.
before they're up.
Yeah.
So I'm totally at peace with
no,
that.
because that's good. So you have sacrificed. You've gone to bed early. You're getting up at sparrow fart, crack of dawn.
Yes. Dawn's crack.
Yeah. So you are sacrificing that part of your life. Could be lack of sleep,
Yeah.
Well, that's-
Grumpiness.
grumpiness. I mean, probably not healthy. But in order to achieve your goal
Yeah.
and try and keep all the plates spinning.
Yeah. I don't know how we got here, but
Well, we're here, John. Strap in.
Roll.
the benefit to my family is you're I suppose an example,
Yeah.
say fit and healthy, and generally got more energy and more attentive generally when you're in that type of environment. Yeah, that's my reasoning anyway.
Yeah, so insert your poison pill here. The more you sacrifice, the more you'll win.
Correct.
Well, we might leave it there. I hope everyone's been kind of encouraged with their 30s decade. After all that, we talked about just, again, make sure your foundation's good. I think optimizing your spending plan and, looking at your bills and see if you can pay annually. Make sure you've got your income insurance and all that sorted. Wills and estate planning. We're out of consumer debt before we do anything. Family planning. Is it happening? Is it not? Are you single? Can you use this time to double down? Lifestyle creep was a big one. 30s is your prime time to really turn up your career. The best investment you'll ever make will be in yourself and your ability to earn an income. It will be better than getting 5% a year on a property or 10% a year on equities. Your income will be the best investment. Also, at me if you think I'm wrong. But
Well, I'd put the 5 and the 10 around the other way.
Yeah, I was going to say,
Yeah.
is that a direct
are
sledge
you
of
saying
property?
year
That was
on
a-
year property's doing 10%?
That was a direct
Yeah, it
sledge
was.
I
of
was saying you
Why
could
property.
didn't
pick
you
that
say
up.
7 each? Because that's the average,
I know.
right?
I was just kind of looking at 1 year snapshot. Yeah, if you just want to pump super, all G in the H, baby.
Yeah.
Pump that. But yeah, just have that
Boring as it
mindset
is.
of we've got guardrails in place. We categorically spend less than we earn. We have intention. We've got a vision for our life of what we want it to be. We don't borrow money for toys. If you want to borrow money for a car, and I've been a little bit chill as opposed to 5, 6, 7 years ago with car loans.
I know. When we first started, like taboo.
Yeah, because I'd rather win people overall than offend them and saying don't get a car loan.
Yeah.
Where if you want to get a car loan and a car, when we go into that episode, I'll tell you my kind of guardrails to make sure you don't overcook the car purchase and spend all your money on getting a car.
So you need more subscribers.
What's that?
Is that what you're saying?
What are you? Sorry.
Because you didn't want to offend people by saying not to get a car loan.
Yeah, but it's just not about the subscriber.
Yeah.
I'd rather have people still want to listen to
Yeah.
overall.
Yeah, correct.
And if they were living beyond their means and they heard me saying not getting a car loan, they go, stuff you, walk away, I'd rather go, let's just try and on balance spend less than what we earn and invest the rest.
Yeah.
And if that means you've got a car loan at the moment, well, let's just deal with that later.
Yeah.
It's not
There's
in
no-
afterpay category.
Yeah.
It's not
There's
in
no
credit
one
card
size fits
category.
all
Yeah.
approach. It's got to be.
Yeah. But yeah, any final comments? The one thing I will say in your 30s, if you are starting a family, one person's taking time off the workforce, super splitting is the best kept secret in terms of what's available to split your super with a non-working partner for a period of time. And also the first home super saver scheme is the best kept secret for first home buyers. So many people don't use it. I'm about to prep an episode. Look out for it. And we're going to do a deep case study, and you might save $8,000 overall in tax and money by using that for a deposit on your home.
That's good. Like it.
Really good.
Yeah, look, in your 30s, we've all got the same amount of hours. There's 168 of them in the week. And I think we've really got to get going in our 30s. We've just got to be motivated to continue to grow in every area of our life. And I think we spoke about formal education, i.e. masters and whatever else, but general education, like read
Be a
books.
student of life.
Correct.
Yeah.
Talk to the right people. Surround yourself with really good people.
Yeah, that's a great one.
You could buy the book, The Quick Start Guide to Investing, if you want to learn about investing in shares. You could buy John's book. What's your book called?
Sort your property out,
And
have some fun,
make some money or something like that.
something like that.
Build your future.
Build your future, yes. So that is
We'll put
available.
all
at
our
good
resources in the description and comments because, that's a really cheap way to increase your knowledge.
Yeah, the good book by the bedside table, on the bedside table, it's a winner.
Trying to get Rach to do a book.
Yeah.
We just talked about it.
Yeah.
Look who's next. Huh?
Looky.
You're in the web.
Final comments, Rach?
I would just say, now I've crept over that 4 hill, I would just say to anybody how important that 30s decade is for energy, and whether it's getting fit or getting your business or getting good habits financially, your 30s are a big decade. So I just think whatever you do, know how much more energy you're going to have in your 30s for all of it than once you hit the big 40.
I reckon, like, at time of recording, yesterday was my birthday and I was depressed.
Why?
I don't
You
know.
hadn't had breakfast or?
I just didn't have a good sleep.
Happy
and
birthday.
Thank you.
I missed it. I'm so
Did you?
sorry.
NBD.
He's made a note of it, don't worry.
Yeah, I'll get you next time. But it's like, I don't know, we're here now. I was actually texting Asher, who does the voiceovers, and Dirty Mike.
Yeah.
I'm like, who wants to join me on a midlife crisis? AKA, let's go and have a look at a car to buy for me
With cash.
with cash. So I want to get a Japanese Because I love Subaru Liberties, and I want to get I'm thinking an 01 Liberty wagon, Japanese import. So
Blue?
no, white. I said to the boys, I'm like, on the weekend, come and have a midlife crisis with me.
And they're up for it?
Dirty Mike's keen, yeah. So we'll leave it there. We'll see if my midlife crisis happens or not. It probably won't because I'll be a good boy. Yeah, I'd have to sell the Volvo first, I think. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. Sorry, I think maybe because I feel flat. I'm a bit sick. I'm going to go home and lay on the lounge. I'm not feeling it today, so.
Comes with age.
It really does.
Put some creatine.
Yeah, so if you have enjoyed this, can you please forward it to a friend or family member or someone in their 30s? If you're not in your 30s, have you been encouraged? You could be 41, like me, listening to this and go, crap, I need to sort my life out. You could be, Father Time over here in the corner. And there's still time, John. You've still got a heartbeat.
Hey, I'm just warming up.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, are you?
Best I've ever felt.
Yeah. Take action. Be intentional with your life. Be intentional with your money. If you don't have a cheerleader in the corner, this podcast, this community, we will be your cheerleader. Use me, John, or Rach as your life mentor. Because some of you,
cushion.
Yeah, we will be your mentor from afar. We will be there.
Yes.
Okay, bye. Rach Kroon, John Pidgeon. I didn't do the Sphere Home Loans shout out at the start of the episode, the ad.
Oh,
but
no.
Rach is a mortgage broker and her business Sphere Home Loans supports this podcast. And if you want to get a mortgage, see Rach and her team. See you, friends.
Bye.
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 Any advice is general financial advice only, which does not take into account your objectives, financial situation, or needs. Because of that, you should consider if the advice is appropriate to you and your needs before acting on the information. If you do choose to buy a financial product, read the Product Disclosure Statement, PDS, and Target Market Determination, TMD, and obtain appropriate financial advice tailored to your needs. Simo Interactive Pty Ltd, the publisher of this podcast, and Glen James are authorised representatives of Money Sherpa Pty Ltd, which holds financial services license 451289. Opinions or comments from any guests on the podcast are theirs and not those of the host or the publisher or their respective license holders.